All right, welcome to another Test Wizardry class. We have a few people joining in and then we'll get started. So today we are going to go beyond the basics of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, which we just gave you a teaser primer of yesterday. And we're going to get started by creating a GitHub repository, checking it out, downloading and installing a development web server so we can host our own web app. And then we will start developing our app, the Test Wizardry Apply to Hogwarts steps, which we started working on a little bit yesterday. First, I'd like to welcome Emma. Looks like you're our first attendee joining today. We may have some issues with people joining, but I'm also posting these recorded videos on YouTube for everyone to watch on my YouTube One Short channel. You can also just search for Test Wizardry and it should come up pretty near the top of the list. All right, so rather than wait anymore, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, what we're going to do is first create a GitHub repository. Actually, the GitHub repository has been created, but let's check it out and start from scratch here. So let's see. So here's the YouTube channel, youtube.com/onesource/playlists, Test Wizardry. This has all the old classes, the Java, core Java intro, as well as yesterday's web development intro. All right. So what we want to do, I have a separate account for Test Wizardry, so I'm going to go to github.com/testwizardry. And actually, I think I don't even need to sign in here. I may need to add myself as a member of the project, but I don't think so. So I'll go to Test Wizardry here. And we have the Test Wizardry Java, which was my previous the previous 2 weeks lessons, just core Java intro, introducing TestNG, Maven, and a few other tools that we're going to use for our Selenium testing as well. But what we've got now is we've got this empty repository, well, almost empty repository called Test Wizardry Game. We might have called this Test Wizardry. I'm developing a speech impediment. We've got Divya is joining. We'll welcome her in. Anyway, so we've got this repository, Test Wizardry Game, and this is what we're going to use. So I'm just going to grab the URL for this, and I'll actually, I'm just in my Test Wizardry directory. So from the command line, I'm going to type Git Clone, https://github.com/testwizardry/testwizardrygame.git. And that's just grabbing this URL, just grabbing this to the clipboard. And it's a public repository, so anyone can clone it. I'd also encourage you, maybe if you want to follow along, to click on the fork button, and you can fork the repository into your own GitHub account if you have one. If you don't have one, I encourage you to use GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, some other tool where you can use Git and host it on the cloud. It's great for backups, if for nothing else. All right, so you can see I've got a fork here. I'm not going to use the fork. I'm going to use the master version right now. Anyway, so we've got a repository, and if I show you the files, go to Test Wizardry Game, and it has nothing here in it. It should have copied one file, which is the logo. Nope, it's not in there. We'll just grab that really quickly. Okay, so we've got nothing but a git ignore folder and a git folder, which is used for housekeeping for Git. We never modify that except maybe to change the git config or to delete the Git directory if we want to obliterate the repository, for instance, if we're going to publish it. All right, so I'm using Visual Studio Code as my text editor. You can just search for Visual Studio Code and download it. It's available for Mac as well as Windows, and also on Linux I use Visual Studio Code. It's a text editor, but it has a bunch of plugins that almost makes it a full IDE, and it's really great. I enjoy it. So from the command line, once you have code installed with the command line tools, you can just type code dot. I'll upgrade later, and it'll open it. You can also just open Visual Studio Code from your user interface, and then go to File, open Workspace, open Folder, or whatever. So I have this empty project essentially. What do I want to do? I want to create a web application. So I'm going to need a couple things. First, I'm going to need a web server. So what I need to do is I need to have Node.js installed. So I have Node version 12.16.2. To get Node.js, just go to nodejs.org, and you can download it there. There are several other ways to get it. NVM, the Node version manager, is my preferred way. There's an NVM for Windows. It's different, but anyway, you can download. It looks like 14.15.1 is the most recent. I'm just sticking with Node version 12, which is pretty much the mainstream version. So with NVM, you can also search for NVM, and that'll get you to the Node version manager, and you can install that. Like I said, there's several ways. Your operating system may have a package for Node.js, the JavaScript engine, based on the V8 engine used for Chrome and Chromium-based browsers, which include Microsoft Edge. You can download it directly from nodejs.org, or you can use a tool like NVM or Homebrew or Chocolatey on Windows, or whatever you might have on Linux to install NVM. But NVM is just a way you can install multiple different Node versions. And it shows here on a Mac. I would just cut and paste this script and install it. But I already have NVM installed. And I can type NVM list. You can see I have a bunch of different Node versions, including a couple of older version 14s, even a newer version 12, but 12.16.2. I was going to say I'll just stick with what I've got, but in order to demonstrate working from a completely new system, I'll go ahead. I'll grab Node 14.15.1. So NVM install 14.15.1. And I just realized that this is probably going to take a while to download and install on my system. So let me just explain what we're using Node.js for. Node.js, as I said, is a JavaScript engine. It allows you to write JavaScript either on your local machine for development, or to run Node.js on a server to write JavaScript-based server-side applications. We'll be using it primarily for basic JavaScript exploration that you can do outside the browser, although we're going to do a lot of demonstration inside the browser using the developer tools. We had a preview of that yesterday as well. And with Node, now I can type node-v to get me my version. It shows me my latest version is 14.15.6. And now I don't have anything in the NPM, the Node Package Manager repository for this version. So for instance, what I want to do next is I want to npm install live server. Now, this is the first thing I wanted Node.js for. Live server is a web server used for development, which includes live reload. So when I make changes to a web page, actually, my browser will automatically refresh that due to the live server plugin and some code it injects into the browser that allows it to restart, or not restart, but reload code once it's running. Yesterday, as I was working, I was just looking at plain files within my browser, right? I would go to a file on my local file system. Today, we're going to start over from that, and we're going to start a web server. So you can see this gave me some warnings, but we're going to ignore those. Those aren't important. What I want to do is test out my live server. So I'm going to start off with live server in, okay. So all right, it doesn't like my live server. So maybe those warnings do mean something, but I don't think so. Ah, I know what happened. What I need to do is npm install -g for global live server. I missed the -g because I was typing while talking. All right. So we'll wait just a minute again while it installs this globally so that it's the live server command is available anywhere, not just within the current directory. All right. So now I can do live server. And by default, it opens up and it shows it has a empty directory. All right. So while that's running from my terminal in one window, I'm going to go ahead, open up another window, and I'm going to go to my Visual Studio Code. Now, this .gitignore file that exists isn't displayed in the live server. Anything that starts with a dot is by default a hidden file. It doesn't mean that it's invisible or unavailable. It just means it doesn't display it by default. It's really a housekeeping thing, but web servers, by convention, ignore files that start with a period. Okay, so let's create an index.html. Index is another convention that web servers use. It's the default page that most web servers look for to serve. If you use Microsoft IIS server, its default was a page called default.asp, I believe, back in the day, and I don't know ASPX maybe nowadays. But anyway, so index.html is the default page. And what it means is what it's displaying here is an index or a list of files that is in this directory. So rather than displaying the index, I'm going to create an HTML page called index. And as I said yesterday, every HTML document begins with an HTML tag. HTML tags are enclosed in these brackets. And we usually have two sub-elements under that. We have a head and a body. I suppose we should have some legs and feet or something like that. But we have head and body is the standard HTML format. So within the head or heading, although there's a separate HTML tag called heading, and there are 6 default heading tags, H1, H2, H3, used in HTML. There's definitely some overlap, some redundancy, some confusion within HTML. Any sort of organically grown system is bound to have this sort of problem. Let me turn on my light here, even though the color isn't great, it helps me. All right, so the title, I'm going to call this Test Wizardry. Not very imaginative. And I'm going to create an H1 and call it Test Wizardry. And I've just put a space to distinguish between the title and the heading right here. Now I go back over here to my browser page. I'm going to hit refresh and my page comes up. Now, if my live server does its job, it should detect the change and reload the browser. So let's go over here. And I mentioned yesterday that we were going to have a page called apply. So what we want to do is we're going to have a or anchor tag. The anchor tag is how you create a link with an href, a HTTP reference. And this points to a URL or an address for a web page. So I'm just going to make this go to apply.html. And then make this to apply to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. All right, so we have here a heading, H1, and we have a link, apply to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And you can see it did automatically refresh. That's the cool thing about live server. Now, let's go ahead and click on this link. It says cannot get apply. And it returns status 404 here. You see in my log file. What that's doing is that's saying, hey, there's no apply.html that we know about. Let's fix that problem by creating a new file. We'll call it apply.html. And we will just borrow this content here. We'll add the name of the page here into the title. And we'll change our heading to apply. And now, if we go back here to our index, we can go there and we get to our apply page. We go back, we go to the test wizardry index, we go forward, we go to apply.html. Now you might notice we go back here and it just has this 127:8080. This address is actually the local host. 127.0.0.1 is the loopback address. I'm going to turn that light off actually. That's the loopback address, also alias as local host on the computer. And you can see it works the same. :8080 or 8080, that's the port that the web server is listing on. I can change that to anything else. I have another web server running on, actually it looks like it's running, but it's not finding anything. But on the default port, which is 80. A lot of systems use port 8080 for testing or for an alternate web server and live server. The application we're using to run this development environment also does that. So this is saying, give me the root address. Now it also says nothing here, although we're serving index. So we can specify index.html as the page. So this is a more realistic URL that we can read. It's localhost, it's port 8080, and it's index.html. So let's add just a few things to our apply. And I showed you this yesterday. We've got a form. Forms are one way of interacting with the user. It's where you have the input fields, buttons, and so forth. So if you've seen my videos or worked along with me creating the simple command line Java application, you know that the first thing it asks is, what is your name? And so I'm going to create a P tag or a paragraph tag for what is your name. And below that, I'll create an input tag. And I'm going to call this player name. This is an input tag with an attribute called name with the value name equals, in quotes, player name. And so I create this input tag. Now, every opening tag in HTML, the HTML, the head, the title, the body, the H1, the form, and the paragraph tag, or P tag, all have an opening tag that starts with brackets or greater than and less than and greater than signs, I should say, and then has a closing tag that has this slash. In other words, less than sign, slash, the tag name, and then the greater than sign. So you can see, looking at these, form, whatever, this input tag doesn't have a closing tag. What we do instead is we put this slash at the end. I could just as easily say slash input, although you see my text editor doesn't recognize that. The browser will actually recognize this without a closing tag, but it's a good practice to make HTML compatible with XML for parsing reasons. So we put this closing slash tag, which what this means is that there's no content, like P has this what is your name, H1 has apply, form has these other tags underneath it, the P and the input. But input has no data inside of it, no other tags and no text inside of it. So we will just put that closing slash. All right, and we'll also do another one. What is your gender? To determine if they're a witch or wizard. Boys are wizards, girls are witches in the Harry Potter universe. What is your age? Or let's make some more human sounding questions. How old are you? And the answer here, if you know, is you need to be 11 years old to be accepted to Hogwarts. You receive your invitation on your 11th birthday if you've been accepted to Hogwarts. If you're older or younger, you will be rejected, at least by our program. So name equals player age. All right, and then what is your gender? Rather than that, we should say, are you male or female? And how old are you? So this is just kind of, you're creating your character, you're assigning it a name, a gender, and an age. And then, let's be a little more descriptive here, apply to Hogwarts. And we're going to flesh this out with graphics, with styling, and maybe with better text and to make it more interactive as we go along. And I would really appreciate input from the participants on adding some of these creative embellishments. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have an input type equals submit. This is a submit button. And we're going to give it the value of apply. Or maybe we'll call it a send application. I don't know. We'll work on it. All right, so let's click our apply. All right. Oops. This is curious. Input type equals submit. Should be, maybe it's, that used to make a submit button. But it's not, oh, did I just have a missing quote? Is that all it was? Yeah, there we go. And we'll put that on its own line here. So there is a BR for break tag. We'll use that to make it on the next line. All right. Actually, we want it space. So this is not the right way to space it, but we're going to do it that way for now. Maybe we'll leave a message here. Well, that's not great. Let's just say send by owl. All right. So what we would do is we would come in here, we would type our name. We would type, my name is Harry Potter. I'm male and I'm 11. And I would click send by owl and it would do something. But right now it doesn't do anything. Let's change that. So this is where we get back to JavaScript. If you saw my video yesterday, or if you know some basics, you can have a script tag in your HTML. What I showed yesterday is we can interact by using alerts and prompts and confirmation. So now when we reload our page, it pops up with this alert that says you're a wizard. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to create a JavaScript function, right? And I'm going to call it apply. Now, JavaScript is a bit simpler than Java. It was designed to be a simpler scripting language based on Java, although there was really no direct correlation between the Java language and the JavaScript language, other than a marketing decision by the Netscape company to kind of tie those together. Netscape released JavaScript way back, I think 1995 with Netscape Navigator 2 or 3. And they introduced Java applets around the same time, working with Sun Microsystems, which became Oracle, or which got bought by Oracle. Anyway, so we want to have a function called apply, right? Let's your owl flutters away with the application clutched in its talons, to be kind of hokey in our description. So let's all right, so we send our application and we apply, and what we want to do is on click, we're going to change this from an input to a button. And now with a button, instead of a value called apply, we would have content. I'm still not happy with the send application, but we're not learning any styling today. All right, so we've got our home page, which links to our application page, which has a form that we can fill out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tie it to a JavaScript function rather than just reloading the page, which you can see is all it does. Now, we could have a server-side function. We could specify parameters here, and then we could specify an action equals, submit application. But we don't have that, and we're not there yet. So we're actually just going to do some client-side validation, which is not secure, but it's a stepping stone. So what we want to do is we want to on click, we want to call the function apply. And what it's going to do is it's going to call this function. Your owl flutters away with the application clutched in its talons. And then the next thing we want to do is implement that. So we write our function, we submit it, and I think I might need a return false so it doesn't reload. All right, I'm going to hop into my JavaScript debugger. So what I do is I follow a shortcut key, my Command Shift I on a Mac. But you can also get there by View, Developer Tools, and that will bring up my elements and my JavaScript console. All right, I'm just moving some stuff around from Zoom so I can see what I'm doing. I bring up my JavaScript console, and I'm not getting any errors, so what's going on? Button on click equals apply. That should really be fine by itself, right? Make sure this is returning. So I'm putting console log. This is kind of like a print statement. I need to use single quotes inside of double quotes. All right, so that reloads. I click the apply button. Let me bring my console back in line. All right, it's saying something, type error, apply is not a function. Sure looks like a function to me. So let's remove that as a variable here. We click apply, and it is reloading. So let's return false. Okay, so we have apply. We keep clicking apply, and you can see it does it multiple times. It just keeps going every time we click it. So this on click is working. It doesn't like my function apply. So let's forgive me for not knowing what I'm doing. Click apply. It's not calling my apply function. I'm going to move this down to the bottom here. All right. Let's do some remedial. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I think you can, okay, fine. You can call your function inside your input type also, and it will be like on click is equal to your function name. So it should work.
You mean just by
Let's
saying
try.
apply like that?
You're right. And it should work. So the function name only you're calling with,
All right.
sorry, with the circular braces also.
That is what I had at one point, and it's not loading. Uncaught exception. Apply is not a function. At HTML button on click. I must have like a broken tag or something in here that's.
I think, do we need this, what do you call it, a semicolon in between? I'm not sure about it.
Here's what's really weird. In my console,
Yeah, it's
my
working
apply
actually.
function works. Okay. And I'm going to guess I don't actually need this return false. The only thing is maybe live reload is messing with the things, and it's yeah, so it is. I should be able to have this up in my header as well. And I don't see any HTML validation issues. All right, this is really putting a damper on this lesson since I don't know what's going on. This is so weird. I've done this sort of thing a million times. I'm sure I'm missing something. Well, let's I'm I'm tempted to just, I'm going to go on to this other page. Try it. Input type equals button. Value equals apply. My index. Well, I'm not calling on click yet. So now my function is working in this file, in this index file, but not the other one. There must be a typo that I'm not seeing. Like I say, an unclosed tag somewhere. What if I move this up here? Title's okay, script's okay, head's okay, body is okay. All right. Wow, I am just baffled. Okay, it works. I add my form back in. I don't want to apply, but is not a function. That's too general, but attempt to call a value from a function, but the value is not actually a function. Oh, do you know what? I wonder if there is a built-in JavaScript apply. I happen to chose one of those random words. If I just change this to apply to Hogwarts, well, it worked on the other page though. So that doesn't make sense. Oops. Well, now it's working, but why did it work on this page? If the apply keyword, or not keyword, but default function method. All right. I am utterly and completely baffled, which doesn't make me out to be a good instructor, but now we have an apply to Hogwarts function. So this has me utterly confused. I suspect it had something to do with the apply name, but I don't know why it worked on the other page then. All right, so we've got a function. And now what we wanted it to do is we wanted it to alert, right? Your owl flutters off with the application clutched in its talons. Okay, we want to click on here. Send application. Your owl flutters off with the application clutched in his talons. Yay, we're making some progress. So next thing we want to do is we want to get these values, your name, your gender, and your age, and determine if you've been accepted to Hogwarts. So in our application, we're going to do a few checks by getting these values. And the way we'll get these values is we'll use a selector. Right? You can do document get element by ID, or you can do get elements by class name or tag name, or get element by name is what we want to use. And what we want to do is we want to do player name. Well, let's do one at a time, and we'll create a variable, and we'll call it player name equals. So it's going to get this element, and you can see how we'll do this, right? Document dot get element by name. Oh, it's get elements by name. Player name. And so I have a node list, a list of inputs with a length of 1. And the first one, so what we do is we do document get elements by name. And we want to return the first one. And it shows the player name. And then we want to get the value, which is Harry Potter. So I'm actually going to grab this that I got from my development tools inspector, and I'm going to put it here. Now, we need to do some error checking, but we're going to get to that later. Right now, we're doing things in a very rough way, and we're making some assumptions that may not be true. Like the field exists, it has a value, that there's only one field, this array, etc. So we've got player name, we've got player gender, and player age. So we have these elements with an attribute called name, and we're assigning them to a variable that takes that value. Now, each input field is going to each input field is going to have a value that's a string. So now I do document get elements by name, player name, get the first element in that list of elements, that node list, and then get the value from that. If I get elements, it returns a list. If I get the first element in that list, I get an input field called player name. You can see that highlights. And if I get the value of that, I get Aaron, which is really nice. But I also should have now player name. Okay, so actually, once I send the application, now I should have player name as a variable set. Oh, it's only set in this function. So I could set it globally outside there. But I don't really want to set it globally. So there's no value here. I can go through, I can set the values. And now I have a player name. I don't actually want that to be global. You should keep your variables scoped only where they're needed. So I'm getting these values, and now what do I want to do with them? Well, I want to save the name and age and gender and stuff. And if you see my Java, I've got like a new player equals player name, and pass in player name, player gender, player age. I don't have this new player object yet in JavaScript, so I'm going to do without that for now. I'm just going to comment that out. And actually, in JavaScript, we don't want to use HTML comments. We want to use these / similar to Java. So that's what I would do initially, and then I would also do something like Hogwarts.apply. So Hogwarts would be an object, apply would be a function, and pass in my player, right? That's where we'd like to get to. We're not there yet. Maybe I should call this character instead of player. I don't know. But so here's what we've got. We've got an HTML document. We've got two HTML documents. Our index links to our apply page, which has a form. And we can send that application, and it does something with that. Well, it doesn't do anything right now except for get these values. I can log them to the console. This is again just printing out. I can put these in alert or whatever. And this is reloaded. I've got Harry Potter, he's 11. I send my application, and then it prints all this information to the console. It logs it to the console. All right, so what we need to do is we need to do some checks, right? We need to say if age is greater than, or let's say if 11 less than or greater than or equal to age, or here let's be a little better. If age is greater than 11, or if age is less than 11. Alert for now. Well, let's be a little more specific here. If age is greater than 11, too old to apply to Hogwarts. And then we can do an alert. Oops. And then we do if age is less than 11. Same thing except for you're too young. All right, let's test this out. So I'm Aaron, I'm 45. Well, I'm 45 and I'm male. I send my application and it says age is not defined. Oh, player age. I didn't see age is Aaron. What? Oh, I must have a player name. Sure enough, player age, not gender. Okay. Let's give this another try. Aaron, male, 45, send application. Your owl flutters off. You're too old to apply to Hogwarts. Okay, so that's good. We've got a check. We can also test this. If I'm 10, your owl flutters off. You're too young to apply to Hogwarts. Good. We're making some sense there. Next thing, what we want to do is, well, I guess that's our only check, right? So I'm going else if, and then else. Then what I want to do is else if player gender. Let's not make that mistake. Equal to male. Then what I'll do is I'll alert you're a wizard. And then we'll include the name. Like you're a wizard, Harry. And then the next thing we'll do, if you're female, we will alert you're a witch. And then name. Let's try this bit of logic out. Okay, so let's try this. Harry, male, 11. Your owl flutters off with the application question its talons. You're a wizard, comma. We missed, oh, player name, not name. So we can actually move this out of this check here. So I'll move it up ahead. It'll say you're a witch or a wizard because you might be a witch or a wizard and still not be accepted. So we can add a little bit of, but you are too old, or but you're too young. We're kind of violating some. I'm going to keep those else's in there. There's probably a better way to express that. Let's go ahead and test one more time. Let's test Hermione. She's 11. How old are you? Oh, she's female. And she's 11. We might have this as a drop down or a select so that they don't mistype it. Your owl flutters off. You're a witch, Hermione. Great. And then we try Harry. Male. You're a wizard. And then if we try something else, your owl flutters off and it doesn't know what to do there. But it can still reject you. You're too old to apply to Hogwarts. All right. So we've got the basic functionality that we created in our Java version. We need to clean this up a bit. We'd really like to just delegate this to create a player, pass all these elements, send the player to Hogwarts, and let Hogwarts decide whether we're applied to or whether we're accepted or not. But I just want to get the basic flow going. Then what I want to do is I want to create a variable called accepted. And then, so pretty much our only criteria is you have to know magic, which we're assuming at this point, and you have to be 11. If you're not 11, we're going to say accepted equals false. Anyway, and now we can say if accepted, we can document dot what we want to do is go to the page, but I don't want to just, what is it, document href? Well, that'll get us there. Load page JavaScript. What's the best way? Window location.href or self.location. Let's just go ahead and just go to accepted. And then else we'll go to all right. So we go ahead and go here. We send an application, your alpha letters off. You're too young, and it goes to rejected. So we need to create a couple pages, and then we'll call it a day. Accepted.html. Just grab the outline here. That apply, I have no idea what's going on there. If I can type, Visual Studio Code is great for editing document or editing code, terrible for typing text because it always wants to help you out the wrong way. All right, so that's a start. And then we need rejected. Sorry, you were not accepted to Word School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. All right, so let's start over. Harry Potter, male, 11, send application. Your alpha letters off. You're a wizard, Harry Potter. And, oh, he was rejected. What happened there? I must have made another mistake. Oh, well, we never set accepted to true. By default, accepted is true, I guess. All right, try this one more time. Send application, your alpha letters by. You're a wizard. Congratulations. All right, so that's a start. We've got the very basic outline of what to do. And then the next step after that is it's going to present the acceptance letter and include your list of school supplies. We've got that here. Test Wizardry, I think it's Java Core. Source main resources. Yeah. All right. So we can actually grab the acceptance letter here and include that in there. Just include that in a pre-formatted tag for now. So we'll work on that some more. and we'll link to your list of ingredients and shuttle you off to Diagon Alley tomorrow. So let's take a quick recap. The first thing we did is we checked out our repository, and then we installed Node.js in order to have a live server that we can work on to work with these different pages. Then we created a homepage or an index that for now, all it does is it has a button that says apply to Hogwarts. On our application page, we have a form that asks for your name, gender, and age. We got a little sidetracked here when for some reason our apply button wasn't working, but now we have our apply to Hogwarts function. It gets your name, age, and gender. It checks your age to determine whether or not you're accepted. It checks your gender to determine whether you're a witch or a wizard, and then it either redirects you to accepted or rejected. So this is a very bare bones, but it accomplishes almost what it took us 2 weeks to do in the Java console because we were covering a lot of Java basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all my files, and then I'm going to git commit -a, and it's going to ask for a message. Okay, create basic Hogwarts application process homepage. We'll add this add homepage, apply, acceptance, and rejection. Bare bones pages. I'm going to git push this. All right, it's not pushed now. I'll figure out what's going on. Oh, I need to add myself to the repository. So I will set up this repository with the code that I have after I'm done. Tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll go through and we'll explore CSS. We'll add a little bit of styling. We'll add a custom font. We'll add our test wizardry logo. Make it a little bit prettier. And then we'll go ahead and we'll implement some of these details for getting our application. And then after that, we will create Diagon Alley, Hogwarts Express as web pages with different functionality. And then we will arrive at Hogwarts and go to the Great Hall, where the sorting hat will assign you to one of the houses, Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, or Hufflepuff. Anyway, thanks everyone for attending today. Sorry about the mix-up. Yeah.
Oh, one thing from my side, can you share the GitHub link with me? I'll just
yes. I'll go ahead and do that right now here at the end. Let's see. So we've got the github.com/testwizardry. Close that. And it's Test Wizardry game. Maybe I should call this Test Wizardry web. I'm thinking about, but this is the public repository, and what I need to do, I think, is where did settings go on GitHub? Is always changing their UI nowadays. Oh, I don't have access to that because I'm not logged into Test Wizardry, so I can create my fork and do that. But anyway, here's the URL. I'll paste this into the Zoom chat, as well as I will put it in LinkedIn, or not in LinkedIn, in Slack channel. So here's the repo. I need to mess with the permissions on this repo because I have my Fiji Aaron account and it's not in the repository. So the way I do that is I would go to the URL. And now I need to log in as the Test Wizardry account. Good luck guessing the password. Great, now it wants fine. Okay, I'm not going to worry about doing this now. I'll have this posted right afterwards, though, and I'll have the HTML code updated. Anyway, any other questions or comments today?
Yeah, I like the session, Arun. Thanks for your
thanks.
time. I think
And thanks either Emma or Divya, whoever helped me out with that weird issue. with the apply function. I don't know why that had me hung up for about 10 minutes.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, one more thing. You are on Slack, is it?
Yeah, so there is a Test Wizardry Slack channel. Here, let me share that again. And I can invite you.
Yeah, sure. That would be good.
All right.
I think I just started exploring JavaScript, so it's fun to learn this way.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a JavaScript framework called Svelte eventually, but I want to build the basics of JavaScript. So, you know, there's like React and Angular and Vue, and Svelte is a simpler one, but has some of the similar concepts about data binding and creating standalone components. So, but since the point here is to teach the basics, we're going to learn the basics of JavaScript, and then we'll implement it in a more industry standard sort of way.
Yeah, this looks pretty good.
All right. Slack or message me your email address, and I'll add you to Slack.
I'll message it here itself.
What's that?
I'll message in the chat itself.
I'm sorry. Oh, there we go.
Message.
I've got you.
Thanks.
There you go. Emma, did you want to send me your address to be added to the Slack channel? All right. Well, take care. We'll see you guys later. And also, you can reply to the invite emails, and I get responses to that with questions. You can comment on the YouTube channel. What I need to do is I need to also get the testwizardry.com website set up so it both has all this information, how to join Slack, how to sign up for the classes, and then post the links to all of the sessions on there. That's more stuff that's on my backlog that I haven't gotten to. All right, I've got your email address as well, Emma. You should have a Slack invite coming. Take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get more
thanks, Aaron.
in the class. I know I kind of sent this at last minute, so I didn't publish the results, but most people have issue with the timing, and sometimes my internet isn't the most reliable. So if my picture or my voice gets garbled, I apologize for that, hoping to get better internet as well.
That's perfectly fine. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.